Hello and welcome to my easy to understand guide to the Component 2 exam at GCSE. I have got other videos for the Component 1 exam as well as the set texts and theories as well. This video though in particular is going to give you a visual example of what the exam paper could look like, along with some hints and tips about things like timing and what to expect from the paper. So if you have a look at the front cover of this Component 2 sample paper, this is freely available on the exam board's website. It tells you the exam will take an hour and a half, which is quite a nice time for an exam. And it does say that there will be an audio-visual resource. What that means is there will be a clip played to you in the exam with video and sound. So that's something to bear in mind, and hopefully your teachers will prepare you for that, but I'll explain what that could consist of in a moment. There are also some very useful information about timings on the front cover. 50 minutes on section A, and that includes the viewing time for the TV clip, and then 40 minutes on section B. Please check the times and make sure you're swapping over to section B when you've got 40 minutes left roughly, because otherwise you could run out of time. It's important to note there are different options for schools to study for this exam paper, and not all schools study the same options. So please don't freak out if you open up your exam paper and see a question about sitcoms and go, oh, I'm only studying crime drama, and have a bit of a breakdown. It just depends entirely on the topic your school has studied. So what you want to do is to really read carefully. So for example, here in section A, it says that you have to answer all the questions, so there's no optional questions, but that the extract will either be from Luther or the IT crowd. Now, hopefully your teachers have spoken to the exams officer and the invigilators at your school, and they will play the right clip. If for some reason, not that anything has ever gone wrong in school exams before, if for some reason you are expecting an IT crowd clip and a clip from Luther comes on, please don't sit there and just kind of panic. Somebody needs to take responsibility for putting their hand up and telling the invigilators that the wrong clip is being shown, because it must be the right clip that you have studied, or the right kind of TV show that you have studied anyway. It will be shown twice. So you can see here you get instructions. It says you'll have 2 minutes to read the questions, and then you will get the first viewing and you can watch it and make notes at the same time. And then there'll be a 6-minute gap, normally with some kind of countdown timer or clock on it. You can carry on making notes during that time, and then it will be played a second time. You can still carry on making notes, and then you carry on with the rest of the exam paper. So you just have to be aware that, for example, if you're doing sitcoms, there will always be a clip from the IT crowd played at the beginning of the exam. If you're doing crime drama, there will always be a clip from Luther played at the beginning of the exam. And the great thing is, it will always be a set episode that you have studied. So I can't speak for Luther because I don't teach Luther, but for the IT crowd, it will always be a clip from Series 4, Episode 2, The Final Countdown. And hopefully you have watched that several times, or you will have done by the time you get to the exam, and you will be fairly confident with it, and you will know roughly what's going on and why it's there and how it's been made and how it represents people, but you will use that clip to answer the questions. If you have a look at the questions here, we've got a media language question and a context question. For section A of the Component 2 exam, there will always be a media language or a representation question, and then you could get contexts, audiences, or industries as well. So you need to be prepared for quite a wide range of questions from section A. So in this paper, media language and contexts came up, and you can see they've split the media language question into 2 parts. You obviously have to answer all of them, and it puts in bold the things that it is like instructing you to do. So explore the connotations of the costumes of 2 characters, explore 2 characters in terms of how typical they are. Make sure that you follow those instructions, so when you're answering, make sure you're doing exactly what they're telling you to do. Look at how many marks the questions are worth, as to how long you should roughly spend on them, whether one is worth more than the others. And where there are questions, so for example, how do crime dramas or sitcoms reflect the time in which they are made, obviously only answer about the topic that you and your school have studied. Both media language and media contexts and media representations, if it were to come up, you should be using the extract that they have shown you, that clip, to answer the questions. You can refer to the rest of the episode, and you can refer to some other general information you know about the shows, but you should be using evidence from the clip, okay? So that is section A. Then we move on to section B. Section B will always be music, and it depends on what music videos your school has studied. So for example, my students have studied Bad Blood by Taylor Swift and Freedom by Pharrell Williams. You have to have studied either Katy Perry or Taylor Swift, and you have to have studied either Pharrell Williams or Bruno Mars. You will also have studied a historical music video, which, if you are sitting the exam in 2020, will be Michael Jackson's Black or White, and after 2020 will be TLC's Waterfalls. And that could come up in this section as well, but it's just that it hasn't come up in these particular questions. But you can see that this one has got two questions as well, representation and media industries question. For this section of the exam, you could get media language, representation, audiences, industries, or contexts questions. So it could be any of those 5 issues. So in this exam, it says use the 2 set music videos you have studied from the ones listed below. So this is where you have to not panic and go, I don't know anything about Katy Perry, or I've never seen Bruno Mars's video. You look for the one that you have studied from this kind of list. And use it to answer question 3. So it says here, music videos reinforce stereotypes of ethnicity. How far is this true? And it gives you bullet points. 20 marks. It's not always going to be 20 marks, but the whole section will be 30 marks. You must make sure that if there are bullet points telling you what to include, you must do them. It even says you must. And if you don't, you will lose marks. They don't have to be discussed in separate paragraphs, like 3 separate bullet points. You just have to make sure they are included at some point in your answer. So just make sure you are discussing the right number of music videos, the right music videos you've studied, and that you follow all the instructions completely. And the same down here at the bottom. So explain why websites are important to the music industry. Refer to either the Katy Perry website or the official Taylor Swift website. So it will tell you what product they want you to refer to from the options that different schools might have studied. So that is a brief guide to what a paper will look like for component 2 at GCSE. If you haven't done so already, check out my other video about component 1. I also have videos about all of the set texts pretty much at GCSE. I'm slowly finishing them off, and all of the theories, apart from one, which I'm doing. And I also am doing other exam videos about things like general tips and hints about how to answer the longer representation questions in component 1. So please hit subscribe so that you can be updated whenever any of those videos get posted. And if there's anything in particular you want to ask, just ask below and I will do my best to answer.